Congressman, thank you for joining me today for my first show.
Good afternoon. It's wonderful to be with you on this inaugural occasion. Symone Sanders is in the building. It is a wonderful thing, and I know it's going to be an amazing show and an amazing run.
Thank you so much, sir. Well, let's get into it, because you tweeted this week, and we're going to put it up on the screen so folks can see, quote, radical Republicans want government-mandated pregnancies, even in the case of rape or incest. And we also heard similar language like this about Republicans from President Biden. He said, quote, this MAGA crowd is really the most extreme political organization that exists in recent American history. So, Congressman, I have to ask, is this the strategy going into the midterms? Is this what y'all met up and talked about in the group chat?
Well, I wouldn't say it's a strategy. We're just speaking truth to power and authentically reacting to a disgraceful draft opinion that clearly or appears to have the support of a radical right-wing majority of the Supreme Court, two of whom, I would add, were probably illegitimately appointed to the Supreme Court and subsequently confirmed by the Senate based on Mitch McConnell's inconsistent application of his own standard to try to gain partisan political advantage just for this reason. But the stakes are really high. We're talking about a struggle between liberty and tyranny, a struggle between a woman's freedom to make her own health care decisions and government-mandated pregnancies, even in the case of rape or incest. That is extreme, it's radical, it's dangerous, and it must be stopped.
Congressman, the House has passed a bill codifying Roe v. Wade. The Senate has a vote on this bill on Wednesday, but I can count, and I know that there are not enough votes to pass that bill this Wednesday. And in talking to folks in advance of this show, I have heard from a lot of people, and they're wondering, why have a vote for show? And is it to get people on the record, or why? Can you maybe unpack that for some folks out there?
Well, I think it's an all-hands-on-deck approach in terms of making sure that we're doing everything possible at the city, state, county, federal level to make it clear both where we stand in the effort to protect the woman's right and freedom to make our own healthcare decisions and where the opposition stands. Now, I do think it perhaps is possible that there could be some surprising support on the Senate floor. I think everyone will be closely watching to see what Senator Collins and Senator Murkowski do. They confirmed these justices who are part of this apparent radical majority to get rid of Roe v. Wade, notwithstanding representations made to the contrary, that they didn't believe that that's exactly what these justices they voted to confirm, like Kavanaugh and Barrett, would do. And so I think it is important now that there's been a material adverse change in the judicial landscape to see where everyone within the United States Senate stands.
So just to be clear, you think it is actually possible that Senator Collins of Maine and or Senator Murkowski of Alaska vote for the bill, in support of the bill on Wednesday?
It's theoretically possible. I think we have to see them put their money where their mouth has been. And, you know, as it relates to what apparently is coming down from the Supreme Court, it clearly requires legislative action for people who, I believe, have expressed publicly their support for the Roe v. Wade precedent. And if that, in fact, is your position, Senator Collins or Senator Murkowski, then you probably should be voting in favor of the Women's Health Protection Act that will be on the floor on Wednesday.
Well, we will be watching that vote, sir. I want to turn to talking about the House particularly. I think that the Democratic-controlled House has actually passed a lot of very important bills, like decriminalizing marijuana, police reform. We talked about the bill codifying Roe into law. You all passed that. You did that work. And I find this so interesting because every single time we talk about the midterm elections here on this network, whether I read it in the papers, everyone is talking about how the Democrats, particularly in the House, are in jeopardy. But You all are the folks that have actually passed some legislation. And so I'm wondering where the disconnect is. And is it simply a matter of telling voters what Democrats have actually accomplished?
Well, we certainly are going to have to continue to try to tell our story in a clear, compelling, concise fashion as we move forward and get closer and closer to voters actually casting their ballots, beginning sometime in October with early voting into that second Tuesday, I believe it's going to be this year in November 8th. And make it clear that we're doing the work led by President Biden to lay the foundation to try to crush this virus. When President Biden, of course, took office, there were less than 2 million Americans fully vaccinated. We passed the American Rescue Plan, stood up a public health infrastructure. There are now more than 225 million Americans who are fully vaccinated. And it is what has enabled us to fight through these different variants, the Delta variant, the Omicron variant, the BA2 variant, and still be resilient as the American people are and have shown themselves to be for centuries. We also have laid a foundation for a strong economy. The most recent job report, again, 400,000 plus jobs created. That's a total, I believe, of about 8 million good paying jobs created during President Biden's first 15 or 16 months in office. That doesn't happen by accident. We leaned into it with the American Rescue Plan and then subsequently bolstered by the Infrastructure Investment and Jobs Act. Record unemployment down to 3.6%, fastest rate of economic growth in 40 years. There are still challenges that we need to continue to tackle, like rising gas prices, inflationary pressures, food prices, but we can do the work because we have been doing the work and getting the job done for everyday Americans.
You can do the work because you've been doing the work. Maybe that is Hakeem Jeffries 2022. We're going to see that on some bumper stickers. Before you go, I want to make sure I get a chance to talk to you about redistricting in New York. Much has been made about these congressional maps. They were drawn by Democrats, thrown out by a judge. You actually have a very particular take about the decision, sir. What is that?
Well, a bad process will lead to a bad redistricting result. And what we are dealing with right now is a terrible process that has been set in motion by the New York Court of Appeals. Whether you believe that the initial congressional lines that were drawn by the legislature, the elected representatives of the people of the state of New York and signed into law by the governor, are problematic, the process doesn't allow for voices of color to participate in the process moving forward, and that needs to be changed.
Congressman Hakeem Jeffries. Oh, I got one more for you. Yes or no? Is it true that you are the heir apparent, as the streets say, to as the next Speaker of the House, heir apparent to Speaker Pelosi?
Streets are saying I better focus on my current reelection, and I'm on the ballot at some point this fall.
Congressman Hakeem Jeffries, thank you, sir, for joining us. We really appreciate your time.